Okay, how are we going to social distance ourselves while living in an RV? We've had quite a few questions about that, and I just want to address some of those and check in with all of you guys, see how all of you are doing as well, so stay tuned. Well, the Eaton family is doing great. We're doing fine. We're all healthy, everybody's happy, and so as far as the coronavirus goes around here, we haven't heard of really any reports very close to us at all. So we are fine. As far as financially, Michael's job has not been affected, probably will not be affected by the coronavirus. He's still going to work just like normal. He might even go a little bit more. So we're fine financially, absolutely no problems there. And then as far as schooling, our kids are not out of school. Our charter school is still going because it's completely 100% homeschool. So our kids are not off the hook yet. They're still doing normal, typical homeschool days, just like they always have been, without the extra fun included. So we did want to talk a little bit about some of the downsides that we do have. So when we're homeschooling, we're doing our core subjects at home, but we have so much free time, and we choose to spend that free time going all over the place. So we are involved in a PE class, and we're involved in some gymnastics classes, some sports. Raylan was going to have volleyball coming up soon. We also like to volunteer out at a ranch here in our town, and they do a lot of trips and field trips, and all of that has been canceled as well. So everything's canceled. Birthday parties have been canceled, play dates, you name it. We're just not going anywhere. So that's a pretty big bummer. And also here in Southern California, where we live in the desert and it rains hardly ever, it's raining, and it's raining for quite a few days now. And that's not normal for us. So the rain, I think, is affecting us just as much as the coronavirus quarantining is, just because we're in a tiny space, and now we can't go outside too much either, because everything is just one big puddle right now. And then I think just the biggest bummer for us is that the boys are turning 7 next week, and we were going to have some family come. We were going to have a birthday party for them and just enjoy time with them. They had a plan that they were going to go play laser tag with some of their little friends, and all of that is not happening either. So there are downsides. There are big bummers that we're dealing with, but we're not dealing with much more than all of you are dealing with as well. You guys are giving up a lot. We all are. So as far as our family goes, we're just like you. We're just giving up the same amount of stuff that you are. And then the next question is, how are the kids handling it? And they're doing great. They have normal disappointments, but I think they're just as disappointed that their school is the same. They're not getting off the hook, and their cousins and friends and everybody else are not going back to school, and they're like, why am I doing math and reading and all of that? So they're just being typical kids. This is also new and kind of exciting for them, I think, just because they're so young. They don't really understand what's happening in the world. And so, the thought of like, we're gonna stay here and we're gonna build forts and we have extra time to play with our toys and stuff, they're kind of excited about it all. We're kind of still in the honeymoon period of being stuck in the trailer, so they're pretty excited. And really, they are young. They're 10 and almost 7. And while they are understanding that there is a virus, that people are getting sick, and that we need to be careful with how we're living our lives, they don't really comprehend what's happening. We're choosing not to live in worry. We do have faith, and we're not expressing much worry to our kids. We're expressing concern and diligence, but we're not sending that message of being overly worried about it. So they're not getting that from us either, and I think that's helping a lot. So I think all in all, if the weather gets better, if it gets sunnier outside, I think we'll have a pretty good time. We're struggling, I think I am. I'm struggling a little bit more just with the rain, feeling a little bit more cooped up, but I do that coronavirus or not. So I think we will be fine. So the question that's been asked a few times is, how do we make it work? What are we doing? How are we filling our days? So we do have slow starts these days. Usually I'm up and trying to get the kids up pretty early so we can knock out that big chunk of school in the mornings and usually the boys are done in the mornings. Raylan just has a little bit lingering in the afternoon, and so we can move on with our day and go somewhere else. So now these mornings I'm a little bit slower. I'm letting him sleep in a little bit later, and move just a little slower, take up some of that extra time. But then for the most part, we have a pretty typical morning. We're just doing school just as every other homeschooler right now, I think, is. We have all of our curriculum, we have everything that we need, we still have the internet, so we're just traveling along at our normal pace. And then we just have some extra time. They get extra Lego time, extra board game time. So they've done a few extra little crafts. They're not really big craft kids, but they've done a few, especially while the weather has been like this. And we have had extra screen time. Being honest, I think a lot of families have, just getting some extra movies in or playing a few games on their iPads or whatever the case may be. As long as I don't feel like they're taking that for granted, I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm doing the same thing. I'm on my screen more without having to run here and there and everywhere as well. So that's not a big issue for us. And then we have been spending more time with our family. If you're a Facebook friend of mine, you might be seeing posts of us with my niece and nephew and my brother and sister-in-law, and that's just how it is. We tend to spend a lot of time with them. We're quarantining with them, so we're not living with them, but we're spending a lot of our extra time with them, and we're not with many extra friends or other family members or anything like that. So we're kind of in this with my brother and sister-in-law and their family, and that makes the time pass much faster for the kids to all be able to play together, and for the adults, the moms, Amber and I, to be able to actually sit and talk to each other and spend time that way as well. And so really we do have challenges. One big challenge for a little while for me was to be able to find toilet paper, just like it's so hard for you all to find toilet paper, but we can only use a few certain brands. We can use the RV and boat kinds or the single ply because everything here goes into a black tank. And so we were having to be really specific, and even if I was able to find toilet paper, one time I did very early on, but it was like plush and we couldn't use it. So I ended up finding some at a local RV place here in town, and so we don't have that problem anymore. But it's been, you know, just as much of an issue for you, I'm sure, as it has been for us. And trying to not be part of that hoarder mentality. We can't be. We don't have the storage space for it. So we do have extra food here, and my mom is freezing some meat for us and things like that. So we have more than we normally would, but we really can't hang on to a lot of extra food or be able to store it. We just simply don't have the space for it. So we're just hoping that when we need it, it will be there and God will provide and we'll be fine. And then another challenge for us will be if one of us does get sick, whether it's really with the coronavirus, one of the colds that's out there, a flu, something else. We really don't have a good way to quarantine here. We live in a very, very small space and we're just sharing everything. So if one of us does get a cold, a flu, whatever, we're just all gonna get it. And we know that all 5 of us are just gonna be sick and we're gonna have to get through it, and we'll come out on the other side, but there's just no way to quarantine. So all of that being said, we know that God is sovereign. We know that He has a plan. We are not living in worry. We are not living in fear. We're going to obey the laws and the orders and what have you. We'll do what needs to be done. But we know that there's a plan for this, whether it's just to get everybody to slow down for a while and be able to spend more time with their family, or whatever it is for you. I really want to just remind you that God is in control and He knows what He's doing, and we don't, and that's the frustrating part. But we really hope that we can encourage each other. I'd love to encourage you. And honestly, if you have kids at home and you are struggling with figuring out what to do with them now that they're home, I would love to talk to you. I don't have all the answers by any means, but I do have some pretty fun things that we are able to do to be able to pass our time as well. So get a hold of me, get in the comments below, or if you know me personally, text me. I'm more than happy to help you out with anything that you need. But the Eaton family is doing great, so I hope you are as well. Let me know. So as always, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. See you later.